Yeah, so welcome. This is the second of our open house events this year. We had an in-person event in the studio, but we love to have a virtual one. People can tune in from anywhere in the world. Just before we begin, always thank you to Marco Manriquez, Julia Knoll, Dominique Nurse, our faculty, alumni, and students who you'll meet today, and all of you for coming. This will be about an hour and a half, and then we have a mixer on a pretty amazing program our platform will tell you about. In terms of our agenda, I'm going to do a quick overview of the space because you're not here. I've got some pictures for you, as well as a brief tour of the curriculum and sort of why we are as multidisciplinary as we are. We are going to share with you our specials, our MoMA Partnership, and our annual JobFair. And then we're going to jump into an Alumni Spotlight and a panel with the alumni. And then we're going to take a 2-minute break, not really a break, but more like a share out or a show and tell, so everyone can like show their pet, or I know we have some toddlers. And maybe, I don't know if you have a plant, if you don't have a pet or a toddler. So there you go. Then we will meet some current students and talk to them a little bit in a panel. And wrap up the evening with a faculty panel. You'll meet some individual faculty and we'll chat about some of their courses and their teaching. I wanted to start with the space. So we are in Chelsea in New York City. This is what New York City looks like from above, and this is what it looks like on TV and in movies. We are here in the Chelsea neighborhood, right in the middle of Manhattan. This is what we look like when you look up at our buildings on the street. SVA is an urban campus. We have multiple buildings. I think it's 10 or 11 at this point across a section of Manhattan. So it's an urban campus, very exciting. We had this incredible architect, Andreas Steele, who maximized light, maximized space usage for the students. I'm just going to tour you through a bunch of pictures or snapshots here. Very versatile space with moving walls and moving, marker boards. And we really want the students to, make this space that their own. We have a very big library and more of it than you're seeing here that we're growing out of. We convert our space into a lecture hall. Here's Debbie Millman actually giving a lecture on branding. Probably the biggest feature is we built a massive kitchen in the middle of the program. So we do a lot of work around food systems, food resilience, food futures, and food design. And so this helps the students eat a little bit better, and it supports the faculty and their pedagogy. People hang out in this area. This is, I think, a lunchtime lecture on maybe cartooning. Actually, Sobek's in that picture. Maybe he remembers. We have a gallery up front. Next door, we have a visible futures lab with tons of high-tech and low-tech equipment to help students actualize their work in 3 dimensions. We also teach some courses online. This is Rob Walker teaching from New Orleans. We have chalkboard paint in the bathrooms, which is either a good idea or a terrible idea. So we'll let you be the judge of that. And these are just a few pictures that I'm very fond of that I wanted to pull out to share tonight. The students have their own desk areas. They move every semester and have lots of neighbors, and it's pretty messy, and we actually like that. One of my favorite pictures of all, so much that we actually put it on the homepage of the site. You can find all sorts of information about the department on the site. There might actually be too much information on the site, overwhelming. You can see all of our faculty, all of our students and their bios and alumni, our guest speakers. But I wanted to take just the first few minutes tonight and talk about the curriculum, which we organize into three sort of buckets of making, structures, and narratives. We have an awful lot of courses, and people are like, well, how are they organized and how come there are so many courses? And so I wanted to address that, or at least talk a little bit about that for a second at the beginning of tonight. So we break these up into making, structures, and narratives, and then they sequence across 4 semesters. It's a 2-year program. This is single track. These are not electives. Every student takes every course. We don't have grades. And we are really looking for maximum sort of exposure and coverage of as much design surface area as possible. So as I alluded to before, and those of you who have visited our website will know very well, we teach multiple disciplines of design. So we teach physical product design. So for instance, courses like 3D product design, our partnership with MoMA, deconstruction, reconstruction, intervention, interaction. I'm going to have to move my chat window there. So I can see design performance, product branding, experience, featuring, and speculative design. You're seeing all these slides move? No problem. Great. We teach tons of digital product design. So Making Studio, Arduino, Internet of Things, UX Beyond Screens, a course the teacher you're going to meet tonight, Smart Objects, also you're going to meet the teacher, Thesis 1, Design Research, Service Design and Entrepreneurship, and Advanced Interaction Design. We teach a lot of business, probably arguably 5 business courses, which is pretty unheard of in design programs and very, very important. Designers have a kind of a negative prejudice around business, or it's a fluency that designers really need to have, and we just have some incredible business faculty. Entrepreneurship for sustainability and resilience, business structures, leadership and strategic management, Megan's here, business modeling, social venture design, and a huge amount of social impact design as well. So courses like System, Scale, and Consequence, Design for Social Value, Climate Futures, Public Policy Design, Designing Justice, Experience Design, and Delight. We put a very high focus on point of view. Courses like Affirming Artifacts, literally a course called Point of View. I had shown you Rob Walker in an earlier slide. Behavioral Psychology, Thesis 2 in Information Architecture, and finally Thesis Presentation in May of the second year. So as I say, this is single track. Everyone takes every course. And we don't have grades because we want maximum risk, but we also want to foster a collegial relationship with faculty so that people don't feel like they're being, measured. And we want you to really have lifelong relationships with faculty. And we have a bunch of alumni here, and maybe they can actually mention that. So we teach all of these different things: physical product design, digital, social impact, service design, experience design, public policy, design and justice, lots of systems design, business and entrepreneurship, as I said, leadership and strategic management, community design, and climate futures, and a whole bunch more. We're really excited about the curriculum. And the biggest point that we want to make, I think, is that you're not forced to choose one discipline of design. I think it's pretty inarguable at this point that like to design anything, that's to design everything, and that you really, never mind the fun of it, you really need to be, familiar and have some tools and have some fluency in all these different areas of design to create real impact. We also think that you're going to have a very long design life, decades and decades of design practice. And for the 2 years here, as I say, we want to cover as much surface area as possible. So this is going to vastly increase the potential breadth of practice as you prepare for your career. And we know that that's one of the main things that you're interested in doing by choosing to go back to grad school. So thanks very much. I'm going to unshare and introduce, I'll actually have Che Costello introduce herself from MoMA. Che, we're so excited that you're here once again. You're with us in person and you're here digitally as well. Welcome.
Hi, yes, I'm Che Costello. I'm the Associate Director of Merchandising at the Museum of Modern Art, where I am right now, next to all the Picassos and Matisses over there. I'm thrilled to be joining you. I'd love to share with you a little bit about the program that MoMA and SVA have been working on together. So I've been at the Museum of Modern Art for over 20 years now, playing a range of different roles. I oversee our buying team. Here's an image of me with some of my colleagues. We pick out all of the products you find for sale at the MoMA Design Store. My expertise is in buying and product development, marketing, design, art research. It's worth noting that MoMA has a very unique relationship to design. The Museum of Modern Art is the first museum to have a curatorial department dedicated to modern design architecture. It was founded back in the 1930s, and it was founded to privilege design as being as important to our cultural heritage as more traditional medium, like painting and sculpture. We have a series of stores throughout New York. We have a website. We have stores in Asia, and we have stores in Europe as well. But we also have a wholesale business, and that's really at the heart of why we began this collaboration with the SBA. In our wholesale business, MoMA makes products that we sell, yes, in our stores, but also to other retailers globally. Here's an image of one of my favorite wholesale catalogs because it features the first product that came out of the MoMA SBA collaboration, the geo-stacking coasters. And here you see in our wholesale catalog, a whole spread that's dedicated to the collaboration between MoMA Design Store and SBA's products of design students. And the way the collaboration rolls out each year is that I and my colleagues come to SBA and we issue a design challenge, a theme for the season that the students are going to think about and design around. And we present, of course, some of the background of MoMA, but also some interesting ideas and thought starters about this design challenge. And then it really gets fun because we get to meet with the students throughout this year and see their ideas. And they pitch their ideas to us and we give them feedback and we ask them questions. And it all culminates in this terrific final presentation of designs with prototypes. The students write product copy, and they really present a fulsome idea of how they answer the design brief that we started with at the beginning of the year. 5 years into the collaboration, we had a critical mass of products that MoMA had manufactured that was designed by SVA students, and we had a major celebration. SVA products of design students took over MoMA Design Store. The students designed the windows, they created the videos. Inside the store, they took over our fixtures and the product copy, and they wrapped them and they presented all these terrific products and told the story of this collaboration. Of course, we had a party to celebrate. Impassioned speeches were made. Designers were there to be feted. And it was a wonderful culmination of all of the different projects we've been working with. And it's ongoing. I just met with the students this year and we issued our new design challenge. Here are just a small sampling of some of the projects that came out of this collaboration that MoMA produces and sells. This is the writer's block. It's a handy place to store your pencils, but also you could play the peg game with it. So you'll see a lot of these designs have a clever twist to them. These are the fold by number napkins where there's markings on them to show you how to create all these beautiful different artistic napkin designs. This is the roller coaster. It's made of a hydrophobic material. So of course it works as a coaster, but the little bead of water you can play a maze game with as well. This is the Fenestra bookends. It's inspired by looking out a window, but you could de-stack them and organize your books. And this is just a sampling, as I said, of the many designs. And it's one of the most rewarding programs we have at MoMA Design Store. We look at thousands of designs a year, and only a small subsection of them end up at MoMA Design Store. And even a smaller subsection end up being produced and made by MoMA. So it has been an unprecedented success to have so many successful projects come out of this collaboration. And it's one of the most enjoyable projects we work on because we learn so much when we hear about the designers and the students and what they're thinking and how they're solving these problems. And we just can't wait to see what comes up next.
Thanks so much, Che. Actually, one of our students, Sama, found our program because she was in the MoMA store with a product, I think it was Panisa's coasters, and turned it over and said, oh, what's this school? And I think we're actually the only program she applied to, and she's been an amazing student here. Let's bring in Megan Ford, who is one of our faculty and has been generous to share the job fair with you. We start with these specials because we know that a lot of students really are interested in, like, what are we doing in the real world, and what might we be doing when we graduate. So we're very excited to have you, Megan. Welcome.
Okay, can everybody see my screen all right? Awesome. Thanks, Marco. Hi, everyone. I am Megan Ford, Program Director at Argo Design, which is a product strategy firm where I lead accounts and programs for a wide variety of consumer and enterprise clients. As a faculty member here at POD, I teach a course called Leadership and Strategic Management to the second-year students, but I think we'll get into that during the panel. So enough about me. I'm here and very honored because Alan asked me to present one of what I consider POD's greatest highlights, and that is the job fair that the department organizes every year. So the department sets up the job fair using a matchmaking format to connect organizations with current students. The job fair takes over the entire department, so the whole floor, and invites a wide variety of different types of companies. So design firms, product companies, headhunters, venture capitalists, you get it, to meet with the students. It's set up like a speed dating event, which gives the students the opportunity to select their top 10 organizations that they'd like to meet with. It really does help with the students' anxiety, and it's a lot of fun, having been able to participate myself. So what did the students get out of it? Well, number one, they get to practice their interviewing skills and presenting their portfolios. And as a result, they get feedback on their portfolios. But I think what's most important here is they get to build their network of design professionals to start relationships that should lead to summer gigs, internships, jobs following graduation. So it's really critical to the graduate school experience. Here is one of POD's inaugural students, Catherine McElroy, who I actually have the pleasure of working with at Argo now. But she came back to the job fair years ago when she was at IBM, and she was looking to hire. The job fair is typically an in-person event, and everyone always looks forward to the live guacamole carts. It's always a big hit. I'll just leave it at that. A bonus is that after the job fair, people tend to stick around and mingle and meet with each other. So it ends up being a very social event and gives students exposure to tons of people who are active in the industry and actually hiring. So here's a list of organizations who attend. We're always looking to add to the list, so students are encouraged to make suggestions. And it's just a lot of fun and very effective. So I think I've covered everything, Alan, and I'm guessing I'm at time. I'll be back for the faculty panel, but that's it for the job fair design match.
That was wonderful, Megan. Thank you so much. I have noticed, because it is social at the end, that a lot of the companies stick around. We always do it on a Friday afternoon. So they can't, they don't want to run back to the office at 5:30. And they mingle with each other. And I think there's a lot of industry stuff like, hey, so I'm thinking about making a move. What's going on at your company or your organization?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the students a chance to meet more companies, but also gives the organizations more time to, talk shop.
Absolutely. It's like, it's great to just talk shop with folks that I don't regularly see.
Thank you so much. We're going to move into our alumni spotlight and panel now. And I think we are beginning with Gustav. And then Bernice, Victoria, and Sovik, and then we can have a chat. Welcome.
Perfect. Thank you, Alan. Can you all hear and see what's going on here? Perfect. Hello, everybody. My name is Gustav, and I was fortunate enough to be part of the class of 2019. Before coming to POD, I was a digital transformation assistant at All right, I'm studying interaction design at the IT University of Copenhagen, but back home it was very theoretical, and we read a lot about design, but we never really got to actually design. So I was missing the hands-on component. So I crossed the pond, came to POD, and it got very hands-on. I got to design stuff. I was in the workshop and I loved it. This is a salt rake from Sinclair's 3D PD1 course. And the highlight is this bike saddle, which I designed in Hüllner's product brand experience design. It's a bike saddle with a retractable fender. So it, oh no, now the video won't play. There it is. So it you're able to retract, and then it protects you from the water. And one of the cool things we did was we actually got to 3D print the whole thing next door at the VFL. For my thesis, I chose to focus on designing for food justice through the power of knowledge sharing. And it was a really humbling experience. I got to work with teens from all over New York that were involved in urban farms or food banks. And these kids were really the ambassadors within their communities. So I really wanted to empower them. And one of the ways that I found I could do that was through this design or product that I designed for my thesis called Articulture. It was an app where the teens could meet. So someone from a food bank in the Bronx could meet an urban farmer in East New York. They could mingle. And then we created a little job opportunity there as well for them to meet people in the industry. Another cool project was a food service. So we would have these teens create meals. Say a Puerto Rican kid would create a meal that was authentic to his heritage and then deliver it to a senior with the same heritage, and that way they could bond, and we would have this knowledge sharing across age. And then through Emily Bolt's class, I created this event out in East New York where parents and kids would meet and paint posters and bond over their cultural heritage. Some painted a Nike logo on there. I'm not sure what heritage that is, but it was actually a really beautiful experience to see kids and parents bond over that. As Ellen mentioned, we really do connect with our faculty, and after POD, I was hired by Aisha Purcell, who's faculty. I worked with her for a while. Then COVID hit, but I landed on my feet because I started at Office Magazine, where I was a graphic designer and later an art director for about 3 years, doing a print magazine, which was really cool. So worked with talent like St. John, Evan Mock, YG, 070 Shake, J Balvin, Julia Fox, and all these super cool people. Today, I'm at Apple in San Francisco, where I'm an interactive designer on the launch side of things. So I get to work on the website and most recently the AirPods Pro website for our second generation product. Yeah, I'll be sticking around. So if you have any questions, just let me know.
Thanks so much, Gustav. Bernice, do you want to take it away?
Yes. Let me share my screen. How do I play? Oh, does that work? Good. Okay. Awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm Bernice. My pronouns are she, her, and I am a product designer. I live in San Francisco as well. Before POD, I had just finished my undergrad in marketing, and I was just trying out different career paths, but I was always kind of told that I was creative. So what POD really did for me was help me sort of get the confidence that I needed to pursue design as a real career. I'll just dive straight into my thesis. It was called Inequality, and I explored labor rights throughout American history, focusing in on the agricultural industry. So this was really interesting to me as a child of immigrants to really learn about the inequities in labor protections for imported labor as it has its roots in replacing chattel slavery. So one of the very first explorations I did for my thesis was this object called the moral compass. This was really when I was trying to figure out what my thesis meant to me, for me. So sort of a physical manifestation of the complexity of consumer choice and sort of the feelings of guilt or passivity that come up when you kind of quite literally leave it up to chance. Spinning the needle, seeing where it lands in a game of probability. Later on in the process, had more of a point of view to share, put on a community engagement event. So this was called Almost Free. It was a churn it yourself pop-up shop where folks were invited to hand churn their own ice cream while listening to stories of recordings of immigrants telling their stories about sort of their work on dairy farms, as well as their journeys to America. And afterwards, everyone was given a voucher for a free cup of ice cream. After POD, I got my first job through Design Match. I started working as a strategic designer at Alumni Labs, an innovation consultancy where we primarily work with federal government and healthcare clients. So the types of things I did there were lots of like whiteboarding, collaboration. We facilitated and put on in-person and remote workshops and really took these programs from concept to the digital and brand execution. You can see an example of one of them called Two Foundry there. Today, I work fully remotely. This is my home office where I typically sit, and thesis books are still around. The one you can actually see there is my fiance Andrew's. It's called Gentle Men. I highly recommend it if you get to check it out at school. I wanted to speak through the types of projects that I do today. So right now I work in retail at Albertsons Companies, dealing with sort of the day-to-day grocery shopping world that folks experience. So for example, throughout the summer when we were facing really skyrocketing gas prices, we wanted to see from an experience perspective how we could make savings decisions easier for everyday consumers. So this is an example of our existing UX and an example of the type of exploration I did to try to make things a little bit easier for folks to understand, like, okay, what can I save by going to which gas station? That's mostly it. This is my email. You're welcome to contact me more and to chat more about the program. But I think I have like 10 seconds and Ellen wanted me to show more work. So here's just like stuff that I made throughout my time at the program, just to show the breadth and variety of things that we do here. That's it.
Much appreciated. And I love the fact that your thesis books are on your shelf. I think we're actually going to paste a link to the thesis, some thesis highlight projects. I think actually everyone, all the alumni here have projects on that page. So you can see the students' projects, you can watch them, present them in video, and you can actually look at all of their books. And lots of these books are like 200-300-page hardcover books. Victoria, Io, can you say hello, please? Welcome.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I am going to share my screen. I will grant Zoom system preferences first. That was I'll give you 1 second. Oh no, okay. It's saying I have to quit Zoom and reopen. So does the person after me want to go first, and then I will go after them?
Sure, that would be Sovik. Thanks, Victoria. I'll see you in a second.
Awesome. I will share my screen and get started. Can everyone see my screen?
Looking good.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name's Sovik. I graduated as part of the class of 2016 from POD. My background before I got to product of design was as an equity finance trader at JP Morgan. And the reason I wanted to come to design school is because I realized at some point I was spending literally most of my waking life at work. And I wanted that work to be more personally meaningful to me. And to me, design was the way to do that. And I picked SVA and product of design because as a complete novice to design, I wanted to find a way to really quickly build a skill set in a broad range of design capabilities. And I think that's really what stood out to me about POD. I had confidence that I would learn how not only to execute on a brief, but to design my own brief going into product of design and graduating from it as an alumnus. And so when I was at school, a couple of my favorite projects included Allo, which I designed for Smart Objects in year one. This is an Internet of Things pendant that fosters intimate communication and relationship building amongst teams. And Ounce, a brand that caters to the specific and idiosyncratic and sometimes hard to understand needs of denim heads who go months, if not years, without washing their jeans. I had a really amazing experience with my thesis project. I chose to focus my thesis on design for spinal cord injuries after my sister-in-law sustained an injury in a car accident 2 weeks before I started POD. This is an image of the car after the car accident being held up by my sister-in-law. So I want to share a couple of quick slides from my thesis work. And I think my project is on the department website, as Alan mentioned. So the first thing I designed was an app, a digital platform called Journey. This was for newly injured people with spinal cord injuries who are navigating the difficult process of adapting to life in a wheelchair. I designed a service called Test Drive that was designed to help people lease used wheelchairs from their peers prior to using their insurance allocation to purchase a custom wheelchair, because that insurance allocation is only good every 5 years. And I also designed a portable urinary catheter sterilizer. After graduating, I worked at Johnson & Johnson Design as a design strategist focused on consumer medical devices. I got this job through Design Match. But I spent nights working at the Ground Floor Incubator, which was a program that SBA had shortly after I graduated. It was led by Sinclair Smith, who's faculty at POD. And the program really focused on teaching a crash course in entrepreneurship to recent alums at SBA. That gave me the confidence in 2018 to leave Johnson & Johnson and start a medical device startup called Ori. I now lead a team of 3 full-time people and a couple of part-time people. We've raised a couple of millions of dollars from venture capital funds, received a few million in grants from the National Science Foundation and Department of Defense. The product has changed a lot over the course of those years. And I have a ton more to say about how POD helped me get to this point, but let me stop here and I will pass the mic to the next alumnus. Thanks.
Thanks, Sovik.
Awesome. Okay. Hello again, everyone. And let me try this again. Great. I think you all can see my screen now. Is that working? Awesome.
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Victoria. I am coming to you all from London, and you will know why as I present my life to you, I guess, my life from POD and after as well. So a little bit about me. I am from New York City originally, specifically Queens. I have a background in UX design / digital media. I studied my undergrad at Georgia Tech, and I studied computational media / digital media. And it was basically a background in computer science. And then the rest of the degree you got to kind of make on your own. So my focus was on design, but similar to Gustav, it was more theoretical and it was less about studying and more about doing. Actually, our universities had a partnership, Georgia Tech and the one in Copenhagen. And so we would often get exchange students from there, and we would also go to Copenhagen as well. After I graduated my undergrad, I worked as a design consultant for a tech consulting company called ThoughtWorks, where my main focus was more relationship management and a little bit of research. So I knew I wanted to grow my skills as a designer, and that's what brought me to POD. So for my thesis, I focused on addressing maternal health outcomes for Black women and the ways that design could be used to address those barriers. So it aims to really give voice and power back to the consumer and those Black women and mothers. And my projects were basically about designing for awareness, facilitating integration of ancestral knowledge, and leveraging the community and eliminating barriers to equitable birth outcomes. And so on the right, you'll see some of my projects. The first was my co-creation workshop, which is kind of a pivotal point in my project because I talked to Black women about their experiences in the healthcare industry and the medical system and how a lot of those negative experiences have shaped how they approach care today. The second is a pregnancy test that doesn't assume that everyone wants to be pregnant and really starts the care process right at the moment that you realize that you are going to be a birthing person or a mother. And the last is kind of the final project that I worked on, which is democratizing doula care and bringing the services of a doula, which can be traditionally very expensive, to every mother who wants one for a low monthly fee, while also giving entry-level doulas the experience that they might need as they're beginning into their doula practices. And so I also did a few speculative projects like MoMA, which was looking at a future where giving birth literally anywhere else was more of a better option and safer for women than actually going to hospitals. And I can talk more about that later, but it was really focused on community and communal care rather than the individual. So post-grad, I am currently a product designer at Spotify in the London office. I originally got my first role out of after graduation. It was a couple months after graduation because of COVID. So I did some freelancing, doing experience strategy before I landed my role at Spotify. And I currently work with strategic partner experiences like Samsung and Amazon. But I also did a lot of work with widgets and more really traditional interaction design. But I'm looking forward to my next kind of foray into strategy and design. And so I'm using a lot of the skills that POD taught me and to be a better designer, a better communicator, and a better teammate, and most importantly, a better strategist. So I'm here for questions after as well. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So if we were in person, these four alumni would come up to the front of the room, but we're in Zoom. Maybe we'll just jump right in for a few minutes. Sovik, you had talked about, I guess my question for the group, what did products of design most prepare you for in your careers after grad school? But Sovik, take it away, because it sounds like you actually had a very strong sort of touch points about your story after leaving here.
Well, I think one of the best things about the program is it really, one, gives you perspective and confidence to really hone in on the problems that you think are worth solving, and gives you the skill set to be able to solve them. I often get feedback from people that we work with that they're not used to their clients being so involved in the design or engineering process. And I think a lot of those capabilities came from the time at POD, where it's just you can really intensely dive into a subject or even an entire field and just know enough to be dangerous. And a lot of that I credit to my education at SBA.
Jump in, other alumni. Mm-hmm.
I can go. I think one thing that is really carried with me is storytelling and presentation. I feel like that kind of sets me apart in my current role. I think my peers are fantastic UX product designers, but not always great at sort of telling their stories and really highlighting what's the important takeaway when we're doing leadership presentations. So I find that I'm constantly kind of pulled in to be that, kind of that person who looks at the slide deck and is okay, what's the point? How do we visually as well as verbally tell that story? And I feel like a lot of that is due to the amount of confidence and number of presentations that we did throughout our time at POD.
Definitely want to echo that. I believe the business courses that we learn are so important, so crucial. especially if you're going to go freelance, which a lot of people do. For instance, my partner, she's a designer as well. She did not have any business courses, so I kind of run her business, even though I do not have a business degree or anything, but we really learn the fundamentals. And if you design, you create value, and that value is being sold somehow. So it's important as well to know what you're selling, what you're creating, and the value of it. So yeah, I think that's really, really valuable.
Victoria, you had used a beautiful expression to be a full spectrum designer. You know, we do pride ourselves on being, you know, very multidisciplinary. Maybe you could talk a little bit more about some of that, those sort of flavors of design.
Yeah, definitely. So I feel like when you do go into the real world, quote unquote, and you work as a designer, there are kind of like the keys that they often use to describe how you work. And so you have like one specialty, and that's what you kind of drill down and dig deep into, but you obviously have exposure into all of the other roles. And I feel like POD really specializes in that you get to understand how all the different facets of design work, but are also interconnected, and how none are better than the other. They're all just different, and how you approach the problems of each of them are different and unique. And I feel like that's really pivotal to crafting not only a design strategy, but a product strategy, and knowing how decisions that you make that can affect the physical design can also affect the UX design. It can also affect how you design the business and how you can design like marketing for it, and, you know, press releases and all these other things. And so I really feel like the education you get at POD really kind of primes you into approaching problems and strategies and all of these different perspectives and point of views that you might not have before.
Well, I don't know. I guess the last question I have for alumni, I think some of you were at open houses before. This is several years back. We've got prospective students in the room. You know, a similar question for the current students as well coming up. But for you, you know, sort of knowing then what you know now, I'm wondering, you know, if you have like a wish for these designers, these future designers, something that they might want to know about a choice to come back to grad school in the world of design, whether they were practicing designers before and want to expand their practice, or whether they haven't been in the world of design and really ought to be.
I can go. Wow, I have a lot of thoughts. One, I think, is if you're pivoting, similar, you know, to myself, like I had gotten a business degree before, and I kind of felt like, oh, now I'm a designer. That part of my past is gone. That's just, it's more like a differentiator and a way to set yourself apart, instead of like sort of now I've completely pivoted. It's like all sort of woven into your journey, right? And like when you bring your past and coming to a multidisciplinary program like POD together, it sets you apart. And is really only an asset for you as you're job hunting, figuring out your career, starting your own company, doing all of that. So that's one thought. And the other is that, like, I really wish I appreciated how much time POD was for myself, you know, how I could really like dive into problems that mattered to me, that I really wanted to explore. You know, now that these days we're all kind of like working with stakeholders and clients, it's like this was really a time for you to really explore, push the boundaries of your curiosities and design craft.
That's lovely. Anyone else?
I think my wish for the future students would be to honestly just have a lot of fun, and the time is going to go by really, really fast. And even as Alan was showing the slides of the studio, I got like so much nostalgia, because at the time it's really stressful, but then you look back on it and you're like, oh wow, like I had so much freedom, I had so much fun, and I was building community. And so don't discount the value of community. And also, like, New York City is kind of a larger classroom, and I think it's really cliche to say, but New York and I think the city played like a really big unofficial role in a lot of our theses, and it wouldn't have been the same if we weren't in the city. So definitely use it to your advantage.
Yeah, something we didn't talk about yet tonight, but like lots of amazing guest lecturers come because lots of people are in New York or come through New York. We have field trips, we have classes in professional studios in New York. We really try and take advantage of the fact that we're here. Victoria, you know, there's this famous sort of parenting expression that the days are long, but the years are short. I think that's probably true of being a grad student too. It certainly was for me. Gustav Sobek, a wish for future students?
I would say, since I definitely echo everything that's been said, and since POD is so, you know, you get a taste of everything. There's a lot of courses. I would say really just enjoy it, and they're all very relevant, and they shape you, even though you don't feel like you are the best at one specific course, but then you're better in another. It definitely shape you, and they're really, really important in you know, your future as a designer, as a design leader, because they all bring context to what is happening in the world and the world that you're designing into. And I think, as Alan said, having people in the industry coming out, teaching you these things in their spare time is just incredible. And they're not just teaching you what's written in some book somewhere, they're teaching you what's actually relevant in the world right now. So yeah, it's I would just say, yeah, soak it in, even though you think that you're hungry and it's late at night, then it all matters a lot.
We should, thank you, we should be explicit. All of the faculty at SVA and Products of Design as well are working professionals and all adjunct faculty. So these people really do what they share with you for a living, for a life, their worldviews, and they teach for the, you know, absolute pleasure of that. And we can maybe hear a little bit about more of that in the faculty panel. So, Vic, any closing thoughts from an alumnus?
Yeah, sure. You know, I think my wish is, you know, stock up on your sleep now. The program is a ton of work. The all-nighters, not everyone does them. I did a lot of them. I don't know what that says about my time management, but
I pasted a link to your the Ounce project. It was a group project, but I mean, just the amount of work in that project was pretty extraordinary. A lot of hours.
Lots of hours. You know, Alan has this saying where like grad school is a gift to yourself. So, you know, make the most of it, of every single minute. And even when it's 4 a.m. and you're in the studio working, enjoy that too, because there are very few times in your life where you're going to be able to do that. So yeah, super exciting.
Thank you all so much. And again, now meet some, so thank you so much for the alumni. We're going to meet some current students now. We're going to start with a couple of first-year students, Rohitha and Heba. And if you are here, you can take it away, please.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Okay, so hello, everyone. My name is Rohitha. I'm from Hyderabad, India, and I'm currently a first year at the Products of Design program. So today I'm just going to give you a snapshot of what it's like to be in the first semester of this program from someone who's literally in the thick of it. We are in our finals week, and yeah, let me just take it through. So by this time, you have an idea of what the program is and the breadth of what happens over here. And the goal to the first semester is to immerse into the plurality of products. And that's why the products is plural. And we do that by our curriculum. The first thing that we do is go into core product design, physical product design, through our 3D Products Design 1 program, which focuses on form and space and volume. We start off with something very basic and then create a full-blown product out of it. It's an 8-week program. For me, who's someone who's completely foreign to making, this was a very good course, especially laying the foundation into prototyping, mechanical drawing, industrial sketching, and so much more. Here are some pictures from the class. The next is we take product design through the lens of business. This is more like a primer to business and business models in the domain of design. We do this through the future of food and climate class. We build our own startups. It's a little bit of speculation with added business models into it. We build pitch decks. We learn presentation skills, and this really lays a great segue into the further semesters and the more core business courses. Then we move into emphasizing research. This is also a 15 weeks course that starts at the start of the semester. We do this through the design, research, and integration program. We learn about variety of research methodologies, put them into practice. This is a great space to build an appetite for working in groups. And by the end of this, we build a mid to high fidelity prototype that is user tested through the course. Another 15 weeks course is making products with microcomputers. This is a very enthusiastic course. We learn the intersection of hardware and software. We are currently we had a final week presentation this week on our IoT projects. And what you see on screen is our Halloween costumes that we made from scratch, all the LEDs. We did sewing and so many more things. Here are some pictures from our class and from the final presentation. One of my personal favorite class is where we take one concept and evolve it through 7 kinds of products. It's called Affirming Artifacts, where we literally take trash and turn it into treasure. I don't want to give away too many details of this class because every week is a surprise and the learning curve is so steep and amazing. I'll let Heba speak about it in the further. This is a snapshot of what you'll be looking like into this program and in this course. We also emphasize on a big part of design is digital. So digital product design, we teach the program takes you to digital product design through UX beyond screens. This is actually taking you outside of the screen, thinking about research and psychology principles related to UX design, and then rebinding them by creating a wireframe, a high fidelity wireframe for your final project. And finally, we end the semester with a light and fun class for representation in visual thinking via drawing design. This is an amazing class. You don't have to have any background in sketching or drawing. It helps you find your own style and comfort. And we can also learn some sketchnoting. So this is a snapshot, and I'll let the others take over. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Rohita. It's interesting. I mean, it was sort of like a week in the life, but it's, as we approach the end of the semester, it was nice to actually get a little bit more than, what this week is like. That was wonderful. Heba, welcome.
Hi, everyone. I'm just gonna share my screen now. Can you all see my screen? Okay, wait. So I'm just gonna hope that everybody can see my screen.
Yep, looks great.
Okay, all right. Hi, everyone. I'm Heba Jalil. I'm a first-year student here at POD. I'm an international student from India, but born and raised in Dubai. And today I am going to give a brief introduction to one of the first-year courses that Rohita had mentioned called Affirming Artifacts. So this was a 10-week long course. And during the 10 weeks, we explored design through different lenses, that is sketching the ideas, making physical things, creating services and partnerships, designing digital platforms like apps and websites, and tapping into branding and marketing. We started off our course with the last piece of trash that we had thrown. And for me, it was the McNuggets box because I love food and I'm pretty much eating all the time. And we had to come up with 100 ideas based on the trash, make prototypes of our ideas, and also develop our ideas further through storyboarding and fictional partnerships with some popular companies. At the 5th week of the course is where we shifted from thinking about the physicality of the product to designing experiences. And my concept was called Self Lab, which is a space to understand and express yourself in 4 unique ways through the Smash Lab, Paint Lab, Truth Lab, and Zen Lab. And through digital platforms like apps and websites, we further developed on what brand experiences mean. And this was one of the successful points for me because I was really able to understand or go beyond the boundaries of potentials of what I could do with my concept. And these are some of the screens of my website. Yeah. So now I wanted to see how my project or idea would look like in the real world. And that is when we created these mock-ups. And here are some of the examples. So this is like a fictional sponsorship, some fictional partnerships, banners of further understanding what is done at Self Lab, and also further exploring on the ideas of principles of Self Lab and transforming that in the form of a book. So for me personally, this course was very successful because I was someone who was always very shy of taking risks, and this course helped me do that because taking risks was something that was encouraged, and also going beyond or thinking of the craziest of ideas is something that was always encouraged. And because of that, I think I was able to understand what the potential of design is and also understand what speculative design means. So this brings to the end of my presentation. Thank you, and let me know if you have any questions.
Thanks so much, Heba. Erica, I think that you are next. Welcome. We'll hear from a couple of second-year students, Erica and Kathy, and then a couple more after that.
All right, let me just try to share my screen here. Can everyone see my screen? Okay, perfect. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Erica. I'm a second year here at POD, and I'm excited to share a little bit about what the thesis process looks like for a second year thus far and where I'm currently at with my working thesis. So I want to take us back to this past May, the end of our first year and essentially the midpoint of this MFA program. We were prompted to pick any thesis topic under the sun. It could be something that was personal to who you are, something you were intrigued or consumed by, or even something that you knew nothing about but wanted to spend the rest of your time at POD exploring. So I made something like this. And the 3 words in the middle are of utmost importance: behavior, emotions, and body. These were very specific to me, coming from 26 years of dance experience. My fascination with the body continued to marinate over the summer. And as September rolled around, I got to this question: how will our bodies look and feel in the future? This was when we started our dual process of making and researching simultaneously. So I'm collecting and reading materials and learning by making sketch prototypes. And by November, I had to really listen to what my research was telling me, which was that with all the up and coming technology and AI that's supposedly enhancing our lives, this technology actually risks sabotaging our autonomy as individuals and our future as a species. We see this through the data collected about our behavior that gives decision makers at big tech companies an intrusive lens into our lives to capitalize on, as well as through brain implants like Neuralink by Elon Musk and CRISPR gene editing. And so in the midst of these technological advancements, are we unknowingly giving up control over our bodies as we try to grasp at controlling our mortality? And if so, as our bodies entangle with technology, how do we preserve our humanness? So here we are now in December, and I thought I would end with a video that sums up what it's like to create here at POD and to show how I've spent the past few months using design to tap into people's emotions and engage with issues of our future. The two short stories are based in the year 2100. So to put that into context, if we all had a kid right now, that kid would be 78 years old in this world.
It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. I need to learn more.
It's so scary to have a chip inside you.
Time machine. Oh, yeah.
It's unclear whether their government is AI.
I got an idea. Ready? What if this happens? You can die physically or plug in.
Plug into the matrix.
Well, maybe we're gonna talk about that.
And like turn your brain into AI.
That's what's scary to me.
That's possible, but you're dead, and you're really not thinking. The machine is thinking for you, and the machine fails. And you know what also fails? The human body.
The bodies don't age in the way they do now.
Maybe post-singularity, so that there's transhumanism is pretty widely accepted.
We're locked into 30 years of global warming. There's nothing really we can do about that.
Other generations.
A lot of strife about like how they've inherited something that totally could have been avoided.
Right.
We won't see the effects of any good.
We don't want to make ourselves uncomfortable.
That's
We're
the
not
problem.
even going to see the benefits.
Right.
It's also weird that she's having a baby in a natural way. It's almost like she's a naturalist.
You got a baby in you. You end up loving that baby. She's dipping. And that's why I think there are the small groups of people. Because whenever shit hits the fan, people find solace in small gang.
Then she gives birth to Sean Connery, and this is the beginning. This is a prequel to the fucking Terminator, bro.
Oh my god.
This is fun. Oh my god, my imaginative juices.
We could play Cyberpunk 2077.
This is not a movie in 20 years.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. I heard the co-creation session went really well, but it's the first I've seen. It's great. I love the collage of the audio and the subtitles and the narrative text. It's great. Kathy, welcome.
Thank you, Alan. Okay, let me read it. Hi, everyone. My name is Kathy. I'm the second year student in the program. I'm an international from Taiwan. And today I will walk you through all the classes that we have in the third semester. There are 6 different classes, and I categorize them into 3 different groups to better understand the structure. Practice with object, project, think in system, and prepare for the future. I will work through them one by one. First one is product, brand, and experience. The class will ask you to identify problematic product, and my group decide to redesign the COVID-19 test at home. And we test current brand, we sketch lots of different ideas. We try to get user feedback through low fidelity prototype. This is the lattice design that we have. So we combine the test strip, swab, and buffer liquid all in one in order to reduce the plastic waste and to create a better experience. This is the 3D printing that we tried yesterday, and we are still testing it. Here is another group project from my classmate. They redesigned the menstrual cup with an applicator as a self-care product for teenagers. They try many different directions and materials. And this is work in progress rendering, and next week will be our final presentation. The second class is thesis student and research. The class will support you to explore your thesis and generate your point of view. So my topic focus on redesign elementary school students' learning experience. So you will see a lot of a book related to education. So you need to think logically and systematically through the visualization. Last week, I shadowed the Brooklyn Children's Museum to see how they facilitate kids' education. And then I held the co-creation workshop with the educator there for shaping my thesis direction. The third one is design for public policy. The class is a shortened journey. It's only have 5 weeks, and we divide them into 5 different sessions, including voting, public education, climate, healthcare, and housing. So this is an organized chart that of New York City, and it's basically help you to identify whom you should talk to in the different topics. The 4th one is design for social value. So this class is more like community-centric design. We got this task to design a retreat for alumni and the design school. And this is the proposal from my group. We designed a 4 days retreat with different activities, workshops, sharing, etc., to better facilitate the whole community to have a more like comfort environment. The 5th one is leadership management. And this class is super fun for me. So this one is a marshmallow challenge that is teach you how to teamwork with your whole group. We also have another challenge, which is paperclip challenge. So you can see that I starting from a paperclip and then turn out into a red wine in the end. So basically this challenge will help you to know how to negotiate with different stakeholders. And we also have the opportunity to have the class in instructors studio, which is Argo design, to engage in the real world. The 6th one is practicing professional. So this is what the class look like. We will collaborate together in the Figma in the class, but when you zoom in to see the real work, you will see that the class really helped me to rewrite my bio, and they facilitated me to rethink my career path. And this is the picture from last Friday, and we had a guest from Disney to share her thought about agency work and in-house experience. So it's really practical class for me and will help you to guide you to your future career. So this is all the 6 classes that we have, and there's a plus. So we travel to the Beacon Museum together in the fall, and it's really interesting for me. And to me, this kind of hidden class is actually helped me to really learn from my peers. And I think it's one of the favorite class for me in this program. Thank you.
Kathy, thank you so much. Actually, I forgot to put some pictures. We like to do a fall retreat, and now that we're back in person, up the Hudson River during sort of leaf time. And this year, the students went to Beacon, Dia Beacon. I think some did some hiking as well. Thank you so much. We've got something special next. We have Cheryl and Jose, who are going to share a project that the students do each year that is very public. That happens at the end of the first year, and actually was award-winning this past year and was something pretty sensational. Well, we'll also paste a link to the project into the chat when they're done. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. Can you see the screen? Perfect. Yeah. So I'm Achi, and I'm here with Cheryl, and today we're going to be talking about our Reactors exhibition. So it all started with design performance. It was a 15-week course led by Sinclair Smith. And when I tell you there was a lot of prototyping, that's not even enough. There's a lot of prototyping, including fast cardboard models to even creating short films, to a lot of user testing to make sure that everything was running on track perfectly. There was also a lot of like actual building and using heavy tools such as the CNC. And we even end up creating furniture, doing furniture making, which in my opinion went incredibly smoothly. I think nobody in our cohort had experience doing so, and it went incredibly smoothly. So throughout the whole process, it was a long and arduous process, but we slowly but surely got to where we wanted to get, which was the finalization of the Reactors exhibition. So this exhibition was a series of 5 installations meant to reintroduce the social interactions lost to the years of pandemic isolation. We're seeing how physical interaction with other people could influence the body and its emotions, specifically how certain actions and interactions might trigger our happy hormones or neurotransmitters, such as dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin. So this is how our exhibition looked placed in the Javits. And here you can see our 5 interactions, such as the one in the middle, which is called Eye to Eye. Eye to Eye was a standing experience where 2 guests gazed into each other's eyes The Trojan horse of the intervention is the activity of matching each other's eye color. And by using a color wheel, each participant would do that. And basically, it was a catch to get them to look into each other's eyes for 20 seconds. So the science behind it is that by 20 seconds of extended eye contact, a person begins to release oxytocin, triggering feelings of calmness and feelings of being loved and cared for. So in our experience, we saw a lot of things happening during this exhibition. A lot of people had great feedback from this interaction, and we had one couple say that they fell in love again, which to me, that was something out of this world. So yeah, I'll turn it over to Cheryl.
Thank you, Archie. And due to pandemic, our activities outside from home are being reduced, and it really restricted the breadth of stimuli entering our bodies through our senses. So scratch and sniff is an intervention that focuses on the sense of smell, offering visitors the chance to sniff different scent patches and guess the source. So we have two different set of scents. We have the natural scents, which including smells like mint or lavender, and also a set of food scent such as marshmallows, s'mores, and even bananas. And they all triggers chemicals such as serotonin and endorphins. And this is a picture of someone smelling on the patches. And hug is a standing experience where one guest is embraced by two hosts. Recreating the hug brings back lost sensation from pre-pandemic when hugs happen all the time. And the science behind it is that a long hug can trigger the release of oxytocin, and deep pressure stimulation release mood-boosting chemicals such as serotonin, and also reduce stress hormones such as cortisol. So how it works, yes, thank you. So how it works is that guests will come in and hug the cylinder, and we will wrap the wings around them while inflating the wings with air so that they actually feel like it's someone hugging them from the back. And the installation telephone was very inspired by guided meditations and ASMR, which have been proven to increase calm, reduce anxiety, and promote mindfulness. And through this intervention, guests will recline against a contour surface while listening to a pre-recorded loop of affirmations. And it aims to counteract negative thoughts and self-sabotaging behavior. So here we can see we have 3 different phones with 3 different pre-recorded audios. And lastly, the pandemic created a heightened aversion to physical touch. So this intervention called Lean structures visitors' body into postures where physical contact with strangers feels safe and predictable. So here we can see we have cushions between guests so they can lean and rest on each other while still maintaining this social distance. This is a group photo of us winning the Best Students Exhibition Awards. Another group photo of us. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Cheryl and Jose. This is six current students, first years and second years. I had a couple questions for you. The first one is, several of you have been to open houses, like I think Kathy and Erica were like many open houses each, and maybe a few of the rest of you. And I think I will ask this question explicitly, like what did you need to hear for our guests tonight? What would you like to sort of tell them of something that was meaningful or would have been meaningful to know about the experience? Being in an open house tonight. Anyone can jump in.
I'll jump in. I think that the speakers have done a really great job at sharing, the insides of what POD's career looks like. So I'd say really, I attended an open house in 2017, I want to say. And then again in 2020. And I think attending it in 2017, I realized after that it was just the wrong time for me because I wanted to gain more work experience. so that I could get more out of my grad school experience, which really kind of paid off doing that. So I'd say take your time. POD is not going anywhere. And as you take your time, really start to talk to the people in the program. We have amazing resources and people are very generous with their time. So yeah.
Yeah, all of the students we list their LinkedIn. I think alumni and students love talking to prospective students. So you can reach out directly, or you could get in touch with us as a staff, and we can send an intro letter. Kathy?
Yeah, for me, I think before I really joined the program, like I researched for like 2 to 3 years to decide, should I really make this huge decision? And after I joined the program, I feel like surprisingly, it's like the group of people is really diverse for me. Like we have different backgrounds. Some of them is like marketing, industrial design, UI, UX design, architecture. We even have a dancer. So it's really make like, I can really learn from people's and from different perspectives. And I think that's one of the most important part in the program is you are not just learn from your faculty, your instructor, but also learn from your peers.
Actually, you were laughing there. I don't know if you were having a memory of being in one of these.
No, I don't think I ever went to one, but to me, I was laughing because
what do you think now?
This is
right,
great.
Just the right decision.
I wish I could have done this when I was a student, when I was a undergrad student. I never had the opportunity to come to one of these. I think it was because of lack of research from my part, and I completely regret it. But to me, one of the best things about the program is how the fact that everybody collaborates with each other, and the fact that everybody comes from different backgrounds. To me, coming from a bachelor's in industrial design, we all were trained the same way. So there was a lot of butting heads and a lot of conflict. But in here, it's completely the opposite. It's I think everybody has a little grain of sand to drop into this whole process. So yeah.
That's lovely. You actually lead in perfectly to my last question, which is, we are so excited about how many international students we have in the program, and lots of international students here tonight. I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about what it's like to, I don't know if it's a culture shock or moving to New York City. I know the orientation week was probably pretty intense. Maybe you could help some of our international visitors tonight get a sense of, what it's like to come here. I came to New York as an international student years and years ago. I'm Canadian, and it was quite something.
So moving in from Puerto Rico over here, to me, first I was more worried about living in the city per se, but coming here, I actually getting to know all of the students. I felt sort of a sense of being at home. You create sort of like a family between the cohorts, and it's like a I don't know. It's like I said, I felt like I'm at home over here. So yeah.
Rohitha, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, when I moved in, I did not experience much of a culture shock internally to SVA, but New York was a whole different vibe for me. It was so crazy and chaotic, but at the same time, so beautiful. But as Jose said, as Archie said, there is a lot of you find your cohort becomes your family through it very, very soon. Like the first few weeks, you start to get to know each other. It's a very small and tight group of people, and you start you just have these new experiences with them that just brings you closer.
Maybe one more response about what it's like to come here from one of our students.
Yeah, I can go. For me, in the university, it's really a lot of different resources. So for example, in my thesis, I focus on kids education. So in the whole November, I starting to try shuttle different museums. So far I got MoMA, I got Brooklyn Children Museum, and next weekend I will be in Jewish Museum. So it's a lot of different resources can really support you to shape your thesis.
Yeah, sometimes I've said to people, you could do 2 years of homework anywhere. Why come to New York? And we really try and take advantage of that. And certainly the fact that most of our faculty live here is pretty amazing. Thank you so much to the current students. We have a very special segment to wrap up the evening with, because we have a few of our faculty here tonight. So again, normally or physically we would come to the front of the room and sit in stools, but maybe each of our faculty who we're lucky to have here tonight could introduce themselves, maybe a little bit about their course, and then I have a couple questions for you. Victoria, do you want? Oh, Megan, go ahead.
All right. I'm Megan Ford. I teach leadership and strategic management. Really what this course is it builds on the principles learned in the first couple business courses, and it integrates that with what's going on in the current design landscape. The goal is to equip my students, whether someone's going to go in and be an entrepreneur or an innovation-ready designer, to thrive in a business environment. So topics include design as a practice, negotiation tactics. You saw the paperclip challenge, management strategies, how to be a team lead and how to build a team, and then organizational design, like how are companies structured? It's a very practical course, and I try to use several different instructional formats. This year we did a lot of simulations, activities, challenges, lectures. I brought in a bunch of guest speakers, and then case studies. So it's a lot of fun, jam-packed, and yeah, I'm here to answer any questions.
Great, thanks. Sloan?
Hi, everyone. My name is Sloan Leo. My pronouns are they, he, and I teach a class called Making Towards Justice. Alan, can I share one slide just for this particular point?
Oh, 100%.
Cool, great. So the class is actually all about community design. And for those of you who are like, but what's community design? It refers as an umbrella term to the approaches, methodologies, and orientations that allow us to move from a place of traditional design, where the designer really kind of shows up in the community and is like, hey, I'm a designer, I'm an expert, I'll solve all your problems, to the place where we really see the designer as a facilitator, as a steward, and as a partner to community to increase their own capacity to design for themselves. So we really look at this kind of comparison in the course, and the assignment in the class is to really take an understanding of traditional design and evolve it to get to the place where you're actually designing. This semester, the project was a retreat design. So really looking at facilitation and retreat design as a tool for building community and community gathering spaces. And I'll just lastly kind of say that the course itself, I think, will always have some flexibility and innovation in how we do the assignment itself. But it was wonderful to see folks really playing with different ideas for gathering, healing, caring for each other, kind of going with the rhythm of the course of a few days, and trying to solve problems for a couple of our hypothetical clients. And it was wonderful. I love teaching at POD.
Thank you. There was I've used this word tonight already, but it was very joyful. Students, when they walked out of that class, it was very apparent. Victoria.
Hi, I'm Victoria Shen. I'm a sound artist and also visual artist based out of San Francisco, and I'm teaching a course called Smart Objects, Material Sound. So this course is a sweeping introduction to sound, and it's from both a technical and theoretical framework. And so we'll be going over things like acoustic sound, analog versus digital, mixing and composition, installation and performance. And we'll get into the weeds with Arduino and like using sensors. We'll build contact microphones. We'll definitely be doing some soldering, but all within the context of like art historically, how these tools are used for artistic or interventional purposes. And yeah, it's a lot to cover in 7 weeks, but I'm
really excited to do it. Looking forward to meeting the students and seeing what they build. The course will culminate in a final project from each student, and there have been some pretty phenomenal things in the past. So yeah, definitely looking forward to this semester.
Do you share how the students share out that final project, or is that a surprise?
Well, there's two things. I think we'll do group performance, which is kind of the penultimate project, but then there's also a hardware project in the end, which is a design project that either has an object that interacts with sound, so senses sound, or produces sound. Oh, and then one component that I would like to add to the course this year is artificial intelligence and sound.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you. Do we have any other faculty? I think is that it here tonight? Thank you so much for staying to the end. I have a few questions for the faculty. I think that the first one is, I know, as a faculty myself, really trying to ride the line between professional practice and education, sort of understanding that the students really want to know, like, how does this actually work in the real world? But we also have an obligation and frankly a delight in challenging how it actually works in the real world, because like, no offense, it's not looking so good out there in the real world. And so I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about how you can balance those things, because I really feel that as a teacher. Sloan, you're nodding your head, so why don't you jump in?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really interesting question, and that particularly in the field of community design, it's about having a politicized understanding of design. And I don't mean capital P politics like Democrats and Republican. I mean your value system and how you orient towards systems of power and privilege. And so when it comes to thinking about these as like new areas of innovation, there are a lot of questions. So while there are practices and like best practices in community design, it's a very emergent field. And so I feel like what that looks like then is that the class has a lot more space, particularly because it's in, at a wonderful grad design program, to actually say like, things aren't going well, to Alan's point. What can we learn from these principles of community design that allow us to ideate and kind of like futurescape new ideas and new ways of being? So I tend to anchor the course in possibilities as opposed to anchoring it in like kind of past performance.
Nice.
Also, shout out to all my students that I see here. Nice to see all of you.
Megan or Victoria, did you want to jump in on that? I have lots more questions too.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I am challenged with is leadership and strategic management is not like teaching chemistry or history. There is no right answer here. And I'm in no way is my class shaping students into becoming one type of leader or one type of manager. And the whole course is really centered around that and figuring out like how you want to navigate challenging situations and equipping people with the tools to navigate it at their own speed, right? And so that is like at the core of this class is that, what we're talking about today may be very different next year because like Sloan said, like the industry is changing, the world is changing, and we are all just trying to keep up and trying to like stay ahead of that in order to like create meaningful change. And so that I love your question, Alan, because it's like, yeah, how do we do this? And how do we, as I'm still learning about leadership and strategic management as I'm teaching it, right? Yeah. And so it's just as much an opportunity for me to get a sense, like, what is our next generation of designers? What are they looking for? As it is an opportunity to like teach or facilitate discussions.
Right.
So I don't want to say sound or this course is exactly an escape from kind of the sense of impending doom or the sense of responsibilities that we have to contend with in real life. But it's definitely a way to be present, and it's sort of like an exercise and being present and kind of taking a moment and then engaging it with it in a way that is quite unusual, because visually, like that's the way we're used to navigating the world, but there's so much more going on. There's such a richness in the moment. And I think sound is one of the perfect ways to explore that sort of different dimension. And so I think it can be very therapeutic and actually healing to be contending with sound. And I think that's maybe the contribution of this course.
I'm so happy you said that, because it's actually my next question was about the role of play in design. So this is like perfect handoff. You know, so many of our courses are about, you know, well, affectionately saving the world. I mean, we have a design for public policy course going on right over there. And we really have to balance that with joy and play. Certainly the MoMA Partnership is a course in playing, Making Studio. But, you know, even when people, you know, to what I had just said, walking out of Sloane's class or Megan's class with so much excitement that they were able to, you know, experiment and think about, like, you know, what might be. I think that so much of school has to be a balance between the heaviest stuff and really the lightest stuff. Is there a kind of, I guess I would ask the faculty, maybe as a final question, particularly around prospective students who are here tonight, what kind of prospective students are you like personally looking for? Who do you like love to teach? Are there certain personality traits or skill sets or worldviews? I can imagine it's a kind of openness for me, risk taking, but what do you really like adore in a student that, you know, keeps you coming back to teaching?
I absolutely love a contrarian.
Good
I
answer.
can see a couple of them here from this last semester, and you know, it just keeps class interesting, right? And so I love when students come to class ready to names, ready to push back, right, on the things that we're talking about. So that is like my ultimate. I love a contrarian. I love
You're gonna
students.
run for your money, right?
Right. People that show up prepared are great. But I really just love a student who's ready to, you know, to have a tough conversation.
Victoria and Sloan, what's it get you most excited about the teaching part of your lives?
There's a few types. So first off, overall, I want to say diversity and experience level is huge for me. So having a mixture of people who are veterans in sound versus people who have never even thought about sound ever is it's always fun to see that interaction, see how they'll help each other. Even, you know, how a newbie could help a veteran sort of renegotiate, rethink about their relationship to a subject or through technique or sound or something like that. And then of course, everyone loves a student with a sense of humor who has like very kind of clever responses to the prompts. And also, I love the quiet student that will bring forward every week a different assignment that's very thoughtful, like very highly constructed and ambitious. That's always a really nice surprise to encounter someone who's quiet, but very obviously.
I've dropped mine in the chat. I think there's so few places to really navigate the rage we have at the state of the world because of racialized capitalism and the way it violently pushes us into positions where we are really precarious. And so I appreciate students who are sitting with that kind of functional rage and have a real desire to think about what could it look like if we lived in the world to see the end of racialized capitalism and like what could become possible. So it's that sitting between the tension between like, I am so furious that this is where we are, and also like, could it be really different? Could my life be totally new?
Thank you so much for those really wonderful and considered